I'm going to share something that's absolutely terrifying. And I'm not just saying that to be hyperbolic. I just had the worst Christmas ever. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Saturday before Christmas. Can you go back with me? This isn't going to be a very long flashback. Stay with me here. But it's the Saturday before the holidays. I have 4 children. They're all of grade school age. They're 8, 10, 11, 13. And the 10-year-old was out playing with his friends in the neighborhood. And he comes in the afternoon, says, "Mom, Dad, I'm not feeling so good." "All right, well, why don't you go lay down? You starting to feel kind of sick?" "Yeah, starting to feel kind of sick." "Okay, well, no worries. Go lay down." Happens all the time. We have 4 kids, so we're totally used to it. Well, he gets up a little bit later, and he has to come out of both ends, back in, and both of them missed the toilet. So me and the wife were completely disgusted. We had to do what parents have to do and clean up all kinds of bodily fluids, no matter what orifice from which they proceed. And then we go to bed. Well, it's about between 4 and 4:30 in the morning, because when I checked the clock later, it was 4:30. But the little kid busts in, and he's 10, right? And it's kind of chilly outside, but the house is still kind of chilly inside too. So it's a shock that he's butt naked. 4-year-old busts in, totally naked, having some sort of weird fever dream, screaming about how he needs to help his grandma get some groceries out of the trunk or something. I mean, he was like hallucinating. I don't know. But he's naked and he's screaming at us in our bedroom. And then he kind of does a bodily fluids on the floor. I don't want to be all gross here. And so it really freaked me and the wife out. Now, we've seen our 4 kids, all of them be sick plenty. We watched them go through COVID and 18,000 other infections and stomach bugs and flus and colds and whatever. And this was a little different. So we got it cleaned up and we put him back to bed. And he didn't want to get up and go to church on Sunday. Fine, dude, after what we just went through, don't. So wife and I split duties watching him. And later on in that afternoon, he wasn't getting better. He was getting worse. Now, we had let him go stay in his room most of the day, so we hadn't really been checking up on him other than to go by, "How you feeling? You still feeling bad? You still want to lay down? You want anything to eat? You want anything to drink? You need to go to the bathroom?" Whatever. Well, when we finally got him to get up and get out of bed that evening, his lips were dark. His hands and feet were really cold, and they were kind of turning purple. He had a little bit of a fever, nothing too out of the ordinary. But he was doing that thing again where he speaks, and I don't want to say gibberish because he was saying real words, but he was, I don't know, seeing people that weren't there. He was breathing real hard and hyperventilating. He was not looking good. And so I am exactly what I sound like, just a stereotypical country mouse, middle-aged dad who, if my kids are sick, no, we're not going to take them to the doctor every time someone gets the sniffles. "Oh, so he hurt himself. Just rub some dirt on it." My wife's like, "I don't know. She twisted her ankle. We need to go get an MRI on her whole body." So me and my wife are a very good yin and yang, where she's borderline hypochondriac and wants to seek medical attention at the slightest concern. And I'm a guy who will wait until my leg falls off before I call for help. But in this one, we both agreed. We both looked at each other, and just parents know. Like I looked in her eyes, she looked at my eyes. She's like, "You need to take him. You need to take him to the urgent care." I'm like, "You're right," because we had talked about, if he's still not good on tomorrow, we'll take him to his doctor. But when we both saw him there, like, I know it's Sunday night. I know nothing's open but the urgent care, but this is different. So I pack him up and I take him in. They run a few tests on him, and they come back and they said, "Listen, we've called the helicopter." "Excuse me?" "Yeah, your son has kidney failure. He has renal failure. Like, they're not working at all. He is in borderline blood sepsis. His blood pressure is absurdly low. He's on the brink of a chain reaction organ failure." And I'm like, "Hang on a second. Even if he does have to go to Children's Hospital in Dallas," because we're out in Bug Tussle. We're about 90 miles that way. They said, "No, this isn't an ambulance thing. This is a helicopter thing." Jesus Lord, this just escalated quickly. I thought maybe he had the flu or the stomach bug or COVID at worst, or I wasn't expecting this. So we had to take a helicopter ride. We took a helicopter ride from Bug Tussle to Children's Hospital over here, which right by the studios, actually, just up Harry Hines, close to downtown Dallas. Right, if you don't know where it's at, it's right next to Parkland Simmons, just north of the downtown. So it was the least enjoyable helicopter ride I've ever taken. I've only taken two. The other one was just for fun. But this one, man, it's weird. So here's where it gets serious as a parent. When you look into a doctor's eyes and you see that he has, his serious face on, his game face on, it's not just because he's been arguing with his wife or because he hit 120 on the golf course today. But when he's talking about your 10-year-old boy, and I said, doctor, is he going to be okay? And the doctor says, I don't know. Adrenaline just immediately kicks in because he's not saying that to cover his butt or because there's some sort of insurance adjuster around the corner making sure he's covering his P's and Q's. He's saying that, and I could tell, because this man genuinely did not know if my son was going to be okay. Now, what happens is something that I've never experienced before. I don't think I've had like a true adrenaline rush that lasted for more than a few split seconds. I've gotten in a couple car wrecks where you feel your adrenaline going. I've been attacked by a couple animals on the farm where you get your adrenaline going. Sometimes when you're in a sporting event, like I played soccer in college and there would be a breakaway and I could just feel everything going in slow motion. But it only lasts for a second, minute tops. This is the first time I've had an adrenaline rush that lasted for more than just a pop, right? And what happens is everything kind of does that Matrix thing where I start memorizing everything and paying attention to everything. And I remember everyone's name and I remember what everyone says. And things are actually kind of starting to go in slow motion. And I don't get all hyper and fidgety and I don't freak out. I don't start crying. And I don't start yelling and I don't punch drywall like some guy named Kyle on his third Monster. I turn into this hyper focused Neo guy. I can tell you right now, the crew that comes and picks them up on the helicopter does not look like an ambulance crew. These guys are in like flight uniforms. They look like they're about to be an extra in Top Gun Part 3. And I remember their names. The two guys, the paramedic guys that came and picked him up was Jim, and then there was Chris. And Chris had a funny limp because something was wrong with his right ankle. When we got to the helicopter, the pilots named Nathan. Nathan he could see that my face was just, I had to look terrible. He could tell I was in distress. So Nathan's over there cutting jokes, yeah, I learned how to fly a helicopter from watching YouTube videos. I was like, yeah, Nathan, that's a solid punchline right now. But, in the back of helicopter is my 10-year-old boy, and we don't know if he's going to make it. And so I was just trying not to be a jerk. I'm flying over downtown Dallas at midnight. Looks cool, and I took some videos with my phone, but I didn't enjoy it. And so you land there, wife comes up to meet us, and me and wife, neither one of us could go to sleep. Neither one of us could do anything but stare at our kid and pay attention to what's going on. From the time that I found out that he was genuinely that sick, which was about 8:00 on a Friday night, until noon the next day, so noon on Monday, I didn't sleep. Of course, I didn't sleep. I didn't eat, meaning not only did I not go have a meal, I didn't have a pack of peanuts. I didn't have a Snicker bar. I didn't have a pork rind. I didn't have a piece of chewing gum. I didn't have anything to drink. And I don't mean a Dr. Pepper Zero. I mean, I didn't even stop by a fountain and get some water. I didn't ask anybody for water. I didn't go to the bathroom for the first 16 hours. My whole, everything just shut down. And this was everything I had just focused on the emergency at hand. And so, look, I am not a veteran. I didn't sign up for the military, much less go to war. But I kind of got a feeling. I'm like, this is where PTSD comes from. Imagine doing this for 9 months in a row. Because here's the weird part is I didn't go to sleep for real until the entire next day. I stayed up basically for 2 nights in a row. Yeah, I went and laid down on the little chair that's in the corner of the PICU, pediatric ICU, intensive care unit. But you don't really go to sleep because every time there's a beep, every time someone comes in, every time your kid makes a grunt or a sneeze or turns over or it's just anything, you just wake all the way up, like you pop up. You're still in emergency mode. And it doesn't end until your adrenaline runs out. And then you can go to sleep for about, I don't know, 3-4 hours. And if you sleep, because the first real sleep I got the 2 days into it, I slept for 4 hours. And then I woke up and I did feel better. But you know what? I had adrenaline again. So then I couldn't go to sleep again until that wore off. So forget sleeping. You don't want food. You have to force yourself to eat. I think me and my wife ate like a sandwich between us for the first 2 days. And then finally on Wednesday, her cousin who lives over in Highland Park said, "Hey, we can send you some food on Uber Eats if y'all want to get some food." And we're like, "Oh, we have totally forgotten about food this whole time." We went from Sunday till basically Wednesday without eating a meal. I went down to the coffee shop and I got a sandwich and I ate my little dinkies. Oh, look, I'm a huge dude, so a sandwich is not a meal for me. Sandwich is a side dish. My wife ate half of hers. There was a couple of vending machine snacks. And that's what we lived. We had to like remind ourselves. Like the first time I didn't drink water for 16 hours. I challenge you right now to go 16 hours without drinking water. And I didn't even notice until the first time I had to actually go to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't gone to the bathroom since yesterday at 8 o'clock. And when I finally went at noon the next day, when I washed my hands, I felt the water on my hands. I was like, oh my God, I need water so bad. And I stuck my face in the faucet at the bathroom in the hospital, and I drank out of the faucet because my body just kind of freaked out. And I didn't forget to drink water the whole rest of the time because man, that was a weird feeling too. If you go 16 hours without drinking water, run some water over your hand and see if you don't dive face first into it. It was weird. It was weird. And I never calmed down until I asked the question of the doctor, is he going to be okay? And I got the answer I wanted because Monday I looked at the doctor in the face. Is he going to be okay? We don't know. Tuesday, we don't know. They hooked him up to a dialysis machine after we got there because he had kidney failure. He had to be on a continuous dialysis for days. And it was a whole week before he got moved out of ICU into a regular recovery room. And that was when we looked at the doctor and we said, is he going to be okay? And they said, we think so. It wasn't even a yes. It was a we think so. It was a week of that. He got in. We flew in on Sunday night on the helicopter. He stayed in ICU until 5 a.m. the next Sunday. And you're not able to breathe as a parent until that happens. And this is the most experience I've had with the medical industry, period. I have never been sick in my life. I've had 4 kids, and other than that, I hadn't spent a whole lot of time in the hospital except for visiting other sick people. The whole time I was going through this, like when I was initially in bug tussle, they said, listen, we can't tell if he's going to be okay, but we can tell you we're sending him to the best place possible. Children's Hospital in Dallas is amazing. And if anybody can help him, they can. And it was amazing. I have no medical background and I have no real studying, but they were amazing. The level of care, the number of people there, the equipment they had, how fast they got it at their disposal. They had what seemed to be like a specialist for everything. They had a specialist for putting in the IVs, and they ran one up through his femoral vessel, like at his leg. The dude, there was a specialist who did the dialysis. There was a specialist who checked on a wound because he had a weird scab on his knee. There was a specialist that did the catheter. There was a specialist for everything. It really was amazing. It really was to see it all cool to work like a well-oiled machine. And I just looked at those people and I'm like, you realize you're dealing with me like the worst day I'm having in my entire life. This is your regular Tuesday. So you people who deal with emergencies in the medical profession, y'all got to watch yourself. You're going to wear yourself out just being next to people like me all day, every day. That has to mess you up. And I got to say, I got a newfound respect for you. He spent another week in the recovery room, and he finally came home the Friday after Christmas, and we just waited to open our presents until Atticus got home. We just delayed Christmas 4 days. So it was miraculous to see all these great people from all over the planet. Aftab was from Pakistan, the guy that did his plasma exchange. Yeah, he had to have plasma transfusions. 10 years old, on dialysis, having a plasma transfusion with a catheter. Worst Christmas ever. But it turned out okay. He's going to be okay. Just people who have gone through this. I've never gone through this. I now understand. I was just a naive little happy-go-lucky dad skipping through life thinking, no, nothing bad's going to happen to me. Well, it didn't this time, but boy, that's the closest I've ever been. But the first question is, well, what caused it? Here's what we're told. Blood infection. Okay, what kind? Don't know. Well, is it bacterial or viral? Don't know. Well, how did it get in his body? Don't know. Well, what caused it to go away? Don't know. Holy Jesus. Y'all flew me in this magical flying contraption, a helicopter with all the technology in the world. And it's awful to be reminded at how little we actually know about the human body. Now, there's theories and there's good guesses, and so they're pretty sure because of the markers. Hey, medical people, his creatinine level above 5. And look, you don't know what that means, but everyone from medical backgrounds are going, "Oh my God, he's above 5." Yeah, above 5 is what my grandfather was at when they had to take him in for dialysis. Like that is renal failure. That is kidney failure. So they knew like his liver was all swollen, his stomach was his gut was swollen. He had all his organs. They kept calling him angry, which is funny because it's not like they have emotions. But we don't know what triggered it. We don't know how to prevent it. We don't know what caused it. Well, the next question is, well, we don't have to know what it is. What did you know to look for? I didn't know what to look for. It was just different. You watch your kids and you see them go through the same things over and over. And when this one was significantly different, that's all we knew. We seen his lips turn blue before when he jumps in my sister's pool and it's only like 70 degrees outside. You know how kids like to swim even though it's freezing. We see him turn blue when he's cold like that. This was just a little different. It was the fever dreams. It was the blue. It was the lethargic attitude. It was his hands were purple and cold, and when you push them, the capillary, didn't replenish it fast enough. It stayed white for a long time. So no, I don't have a whole lot of answers. I'm sorry, moms and dads. I can't spell it out better for you than that. But listen, you look at your wife, and your wife looks at you, and when y'all both kind of like nod, and there's just some instinct that you have as a parent that kicks in. How do you know if you have that? I hope you do. I just assume you do. And I really hope if you have to go through this that you're not a giant dude like me. I mean, I'm not the Incredible Hulk, but I'm 6'3", and I'm a man of size. And these little hospital sleeping accommodations did not have me in mind. It was funny because whether you set me on the couch or they had a chair that would be comfortable if it had just been a little bit longer. But even when you recline the recliner all the way down and put the little footrest all the way up, I look like a foot-long hot dog in like a regular size bun. And for some reason, that was like a source of some comedy. At least my wife could laugh at me like, you look ridiculous. That looks totally uncomfortable. It is. But it, far more comfortable than my kid in the bed next to me in the ICU. So comments, questions, 288 WBAP 800-288-9227. Just another big thank you to just some of the people. It's amazing how many of these names I remember. There was 2 Chris's, there was an Aftab, there was a Kelsey, there was a Kayla. I can almost tell you the age of a nurse based on her name, because if she's Kaylee, then she's under 30. If she's Ashley, then she's between 30 and 50. If she's a Deborah, she's over 50. It was weird. There was no overlap in that. Observations were made. And hey, another thing, Children's Hospital, is there a sadder place for a kid to have to spend Christmas? They do so much. They had decorated the little recreational area like Whoville, and they had the Grinch come down. You could take pictures with the Grinch. And they even had like a gift giveaway. Each kid got a big gift and a little gift, and the parent could go down to the gift center and they would even wrap it for you. And there were thousands of awesome donated gifts. I don't mean like they were giving you an egg of silly putty. There were like this Star Wars TIE Fighter kit that must be $112, Lego kit that you could choose for the kids. They had great gifts. They had people there to wrap them for you, and it looked so good. And I've never been on the receiving end of charity like that. But even as a grown man who doesn't have fully developed adult feelings, I cried. It was the saddest, sweetest, at the same time, mix of emotions. It was wild. I hope you don't have to go through it. I hope you don't. But if you do, just praise God that not only do you live in the greatest state, in the greatest country the world has ever known. But the big part is it's 2024. If this had happened 100 years ago, kid's dead. This happened 50 years ago, kid's probably dead. Calvin Coolidge's son died while he was in the White House from the exact same thing. Just some random blood infection that came from the kid got a blister on his toe playing tennis because his shoes weren't the right size. And the president's son died 100 years ago. And my kid, we're just regular old Joes out there. We're just lucky that this is where we live when we live. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now 93.3 FM.
On air, on the app, on the go. Check in 2, 3, 4 times a day and keep connected, DFW. News Talk 820 WBAP.
News Talk 820 WBAP. And now on FM at 93.3.